Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Query Solution. So today it's the third session on the chapter Life Process, and today we are studying the topic which is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So as we have previously discussed quite a lot by now that what is autotrophic and what is heterotrophic. So just to quickly summarize, heterotrophic mode of nutrition is the one where one organism depend on the other organism for nutrition or for food. That is what is meant by heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now see, in our first video, we had already spoken that whenever we are talking about this mode of nutrition where one is depending on someone else, it could be different in the case of organisms which are having very simple body like unicellular, and it could be entirely different when we are talking about a complex body organism like a multicellular organism. So we are going to understand this process taking examples of both the categories. So if I talk about a very simple organism like an amoeba, so I hope you all know about this organism. The best example when we are asked, a question is asked about example of a unicellular amoeba is one of the example that all of the children write in exams, correct? So amoeba, whenever we are talking about amoeba's mode of nutrition, which is definitely heterotrophic, means it cannot produce its own food. How does amoeba obtain this nutrition? So amoeba obtain its nutrition from something which is known as pseudopodia. And what does the mean pseudo word mean over here? So pseudo means false feet. Now what do I mean by saying false feet over here? So amoeba, first of all, whenever it see a food particle coming near its body, like for example, if this is an amoeba and this is a food particle that it will see inside its body, what it is going to do is, it is first of all going to develop a finger-like projection towards it, like this, correct? Here it's the nucleus, so it will develop a finger-like projection, which here we are saying as pseudopodia. Next, what it is going to do after this? Next, this amoeba is going to engulf this food particle inside its body. So if this was the food particle here, what is this amoeba going to do? It is going to bring this whole food content inside, because it has an indefinite shape. So that is why the reason I am drawing it this way. So if this is the food particle, it will engulf it inside. It will come inside a structure which is now known as a food vacuole. So what will happen in this food vacuole now? Here this food particle that has been taken inside will now be digested. So the complex particle of the food will now be broken down into simple. That is what is the meaning of digestion. And once this digestion is done, the material will be diffused in its cytoplasm. So we do know that amoeba will obtain its nutrition by the simple process of diffusion, correct? We have discussed in our first video, mainly the session 1 video. So it will take the food particle, allow the diffusion to happen, the particles will diffuse in the cytoplasm, and then whatever waste material that will be there, it will be thrown out through the surface of the cell. Why to the surface of the cell? So that it can be expelled out of the body. So this is a very simple way how amoeba is going to deal with the process of nutrition, right? It will develop a food vacuole, it will develop the false feet kind of structure, will take the food vacuole inside, digest the food and expel the waste out. How about another unicellular organism like that of a paramecium? So do you know what is paramecium? Is it a unicellular or a multicellular organism? So I think many of you know that paramecium, when we are talking about, is actually a unicellular organism, right? Paramecium. So is it same like that of amoeba? It is going to perform its nutrition. So in a way, amoeba has actually a definite spot. So like unlike amoeba, here where there was an indefinite structure for intake of the food, in the case of paramecium, there is a definite place from where the food is going to go inside the body. So this is one example, just one example we have seen that in one of the unicellular, there is an indefinite place, it will develop a false feed from whichever shape its body can make up to and make its food. But in the case of paramecium, as we are talking about, here it is going to intake the food through a definite spot and then it is going to digest the food mainly. Then how about a multicellular organism? So I think you know that as we are talking about our own body, we do know our body is very complex. If we talk about the body of a plant, it is very complex. But if we talk about amoeba, it is very simple. So as the complexity of the body will keep on developing, it will keep on increasing, definitely the method through which they are obtaining the nutrition will also vary. So if I ask you that how a human is going to digest its food, what are you going to think about it? Will it be the same like that of diffusion here? So definitely not. Our body cannot just take the food by the process of diffusion, because we are such a complex structure. We have millions of cells in our body, and to each cell we can't provide nutrition just by diffusion. So in human, what is the mode of nutrition that happens? So in the case of human, there is something which is known as Holozoic mode of nutrition. And what is this Holozoic mode of nutrition? Holozoic mode of nutrition means the process which involves 5 major steps into it. And what steps here am I talking about? The first step is something which is known as ingestion. Let me first of all write down the steps quickly. The second step is something which is known as digestion. So ingestion, digestion. Then the third step is known as absorption. The fourth step is known as assimilation. And then comes the fifth step, which is known as egestion. Alright, so what here am I talking about? What are these 5 steps? These are the 5 steps through which you, me, and all the humans obtain nutrition from. What are these 5 steps? The first step is ingestion, followed by digestion, followed by absorption, followed by assimilation, and lastly followed by the egestion. So let us quickly see what are these 5 steps known as, or what are the meaning of the 5 steps. Now see, the word in is there. Now in is a very general word. Whenever we talk about the word in, means we are talking some movement inside, right? So what is ingestion? The process of intake of food is what is known as ingestion. So right, you all eat your food, and what is the site through which you are eating the food? So the stage or the site for ingestion of your food is something which is known as your mouth. Through the mouth we intake the food. So the process of intake of the food is something which is known as ingestion. And what would be digestion? Now once you eat your food, you do know your food goes through your food pipe and then to your stomach, right? So what is digestion meaning? Digestion means the breaking down of complex food into, let me draw a little bigger, complex food into simple food. And does there is presence of anything that help in this process? So yes, there are presence of enzymes. So what is digestion mainly? The breaking down of complex food. Whatever food you have eaten, like roti, rice, sambar, or anything that you eat mainly, the breaking down of that complex food into its simple version, like carbs, basic sugars, basic amino acids and all, in the presence of enzyme. That is what is known as digestion. What is this third step then? Absorption. So absorption is the process which is done by your small intestine, which has specialized structures which are known as villi. So what is this villi all about? Once your food is broken down into simple, these villi are going to absorb this simple food. Or here this simple food is something I can also use the word as a nutrient, right? Because this is what your body is going to absorb at the end of the day. This is what your body needs at the end of the day. It does not need this complex version. It can't do anything out of it, but it needs this simple or the nutrient version. So once your food is broken down to simple, now this simple food or the nutrients of your food now will be absorbed by your small intestine, and eventually it will be entering in your bloodstream. This is the process which is known as absorption. Now think, what could be assimilation? Now what blood is going to do with your nutrients at the end of the day? So can you tell me what is the structural unit in your body? What is the smallest unit in your body? So we all know that it is the cell, right? In grade 9 you would have studied various cell organelles. So can anyone send me what is the site where energy generation happen? So I think many of you could recognize now that here I am talking about a cell organelle which is known as mitochondria, correct? Now what is happening here? So once your food has been digested, once it has been absorbed by your villi in the small intestine, and now these nutrients are there in your blood, now this blood is going to pass all these nutrients to different cells of your body. So imagine how many cells you have. You have millions of cells in your body. Now this blood is going to give all these nutrients to the cell, and what is the cell going to do? It will use this cell organelle which is mitochondria. It will perform the oxidation of your food. And what will happen once your food will get oxidized in your cell? So food oxidation is going to happen, or your nutrient oxidation here is going to happen. and this will give rise to your energy in the form of ATP. So there are more versions of energy molecules too, but here just to keep it simple I am telling you about ATP. This is adenosine triphosphate. I think every one of you would have heard about it, and this is what is going to give you energy. So just imagine, what do you guys think? Just by eating the food you are getting energy? That's what we feel, right? We have eaten the food and now we are able to do work. So that's not just as simple as you think. You have just eaten your food, then your food gets digested, means it gets broken into simple, then it gets absorbed through your small intestine, villi, and enters in your blood. Then blood will take this digested food to different cells of your body, and what are these cells going to do? The cells are going to oxidize your food, and after oxidation is what you are going to get your energy in the form of ATP. So this is assimilation process which happens in at your mitochondrial level. Then what would be this last step of digestion? So I think you would think by now, whenever we are eating food, your body is not using your food entirely. There will be a lot of waste which will be generated in your body, and removal of your waste, removal of the solid waste mainly here we are talking about, because here we are talking about the solid food that we are eating, right? So the removal of the waste, the solid waste which is generated in your body, something which is known as digestion, correct? So this was a quick introductory video about what is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In this we have spoken about the mode of nutrition in different organisms, like in unicellular and in multicellular, how it happens, and we mainly need to discuss and learn in detail about the human mode of nutrition, which is the Holozoic mode, comprising of these 5 steps. So I hope you are clear with the video. If you have any doubt, you can comment me in the comment section box, and in our next section we are going to study this entire process or the process of digestion in human in detail. So thank you for watching the video.